I'm Joan Brown. It's my great pleasure to host this segment of the Marin Women's Hall of Fame show. Since 1987, the Hall of Fame has inducted over 140 Marin women of distinction, women who have made immense contributions to the county of Marin and its residents, as well as to the world beyond. Honorees have distinguished themselves in many fields: education, science, business, philanthropy, the arts, politics, law, philosophy, health, and religion. Each honoree has been a force for positive change in our community. It is a great pleasure to acknowledge and document their contributions. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Frances White, who is being honored in 2019 for her remarkable work in higher education. So Fran, let's begin with where it all began. I'd like to hear about your family, what experiences and what things happened in your early development that led you on the path that you've taken.
Thank you so much, Joan, and it really is a humbling honor to be an honoree for the Marin Women's Hall of Fame Class 2019. Well, to start from the beginning, I will say that I'm the oldest of 6 girls. Father kept trying for that son. And I grew up in a family of educators and musicians and good church people. I am a preacher's kid. My father ran a very structured home. My mom was a trained classical pianist. And it was lovely to hear beautiful music, Chopin and Rachmaninoff and Mozart, to name a few, all the time, because she enjoyed playing the piano. So I had the beauty of music, the structure of a mother and father in the home, and I think it really paid off well in terms of my own development. As I was growing up, I had responsibility at a very early age. My sisters were the victims of my early leadership practices and skill training. But nonetheless, it was a happy home, it was a loving home, and it was a great environment to grow up in.
And what was the personality of your mom like? I mean, you heard that your father was very structured.
Well, Mom was, how can I say, she was sort of the Mary Poppins of the family. Every holiday was special. So the house was always dressed up for, I don't care what holiday it was, even St. Patrick's Day. And her whole philosophy about who we are as people when I was growing up was, you can do anything you want to do. You have to want to do it. And don't worry about everything else. Just focus on how to get to where you need to be, always. She really kept me encouraged and motivated not to ever give up. And that was a real big deal in my development, all the way through secondary school, high school. That was an important philosophy to have.
Music, you've mentioned, has always been an important part of your life. Well, you've talked about your mom, but you also talked about your performances and what that has given you and kind of as building blocks for where you've come. So can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yes. Well, I learned at a very early age, both my sister and I were singers. And my mom would drive us to the radio station every Sunday morning on the gospel show to sing for the radio audience. So I learned at a very early age that stage fright was just something that comes with the job, and that if you're rehearsed and practice and know what you're doing, you'll be just fine. That was very helpful in my later life as I was becoming more of a professional, to be very comfortable speaking to 5 people or 500 people. I think my mother and my father contributed to my ease, if you will, with almost anybody. I mean, frankly, I can talk to anybody. I can relate to anybody. I love people. I'm considered a people person. And I think the comfort with that came with the preacher's kid side, and the other side was the performance side, because if you're performing, you're out there, right? So it helped develop, I believe, my own personal style of interacting with others.
So did you study music in college? Kind of what was your...
I sang all the way through. I sang in choirs, high school choirs. Oh, they were glorious choirs. Our high school choir had an octet, 8 of us, who traveled around the state performing a cappella. And we were 3rd in the state, not number 1, but we were up there. We were in the top 5 in terms of performing. And so I performed in college later.
And where did you go to college?
Oh, I love talking about that. I attended Merritt College. I'm a graduate of a community college, and I got the rest of my higher ed in East Bay, Cal State Hayward at the time. It wasn't Cal State East Bay. And my doctorate at UC Berkeley. But I have to tell you, all that singing led to the Oh Happy Day group, where I performed as well and sang, and he carried about 18 of us on the road to travel. So performance and singing and being in front of people and being comfortable doing that, that's where it all came from. I do believe it.
Yeah, it's a big leg up, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's a big leg up. So you've had an incredible and long career in higher education, helping students with their academic excellence. And can you describe a time when you felt like you made a significant contribution in shaping higher education, and begin with the fact that you began teaching at the
community college level,
and kind of take us through the trajectory through your higher path on that?
Okay. Well, I did. I started teaching, my teaching career at the community college. That's where I began my teaching career. And I did that for about 12 years, and then I moved into administration.
And you were teaching math?
I taught psychology, and I taught basic math. And I did that for about 12 years, and then I had an opportunity to move into administration. I'm starting at the dean level, of course. And from there, it seems like my career just took off. I was subsequently an executive vice chancellor at City College of San Francisco. I became college president at Skyline College in San Bruno. I was there 5 years, loved it, and then was recruited to College of Marin, and I was there for 6 years. But I always wanted to focus on student learning. I always wanted to improve student learning outcomes for students, all students. And I found that our college budgets do not provide for research and development, and do not allow, if you will, opportunities for faculty and staff to think outside of the box, think out loud, be innovative and creative. So at Skyline College, I'm proud to say I initiated or established a program called the President's Innovation Fund. And that fund was provided by means of community individuals who served on the President's Council and would do fundraising. So we do this annual fundraising, and we would use the money to offer grants to faculty and staff to apply, if you will, for the funds. And many people did over time. That program was started in, I want to say 2001. I was obviously still there. I was there from 1999 to 2004. And that program is still going on. It is gangbusters. And the San Mateo Community College District Office has now incorporated into its overall foundation efforts, and it's very strong. And what I found out in that, by having that program be available, that faculty were able to create different pedagogies and different ways of offering learning to students. And they could try it out, and if it worked and it was successful, because there was an assessment piece attached to it, if it was successful, it could be refunded. In other words, they could apply again, and it could be refunded again. Yes. So there was an opportunity for research. You know, they could do trial and error and see how it all turned out. So I'm very, very proud of that, because that's a key legacy around helping instructional methods and methodologies and pedagogies toward improving student learning.
So if a system worked, would it ever be folded into the regular curriculum so that the faculty wouldn't have to reapply each year?
Yes, and that did happen on a couple of occasions. So the answer is totally yes. And that, of course, is a basis of how much funding is going to be available to support it institutionally and long term.
And did you try that here at College of Marin, or?
I did not. There were other issues.
Yes, we know.
There were other priorities, let me say, to consider when I came to College of Marin. When I got there, the college was really experiencing some difficulties and challenges that would involve improving their fiscal status, involved with improving their accreditation status. So there were some serious problems to deal with. And frankly, the first 2 years of my tenure there was pretty much focused on helping to get that turned around.
So would you say that that's been was the most challenging part of your career in upper education?
I would say as a college president, because that wasn't my first presidency, it was most challenging. And I'm grateful for the experience, believe it or not, because it also provided an opportunity for the institution to come together. The board was solid. And the faculty, the academic senate, the faculty senate, and the faculty leadership were critical in helping to turn things around. And it made a big difference. And even today, a lot of the success of the institution is the fact that they really have a strong board and they have a strong faculty.
And so during your tenure, the college lost its accreditation, or it had lost it?
It had not, but it was on warning, and it was on probation, and that had to be corrected. And fortunately, we were able to do it together with the help of the faculty and the board support. It was a big deal.
I remember it being in the newspaper a lot.
Yes, it was always in the newspaper. There was always some editorial or something regarding College of Marin's educational status, if you will. But when I finally retired from the college in 2010, its accreditation was in place. Yes, and it had a healthy reserve, a very healthy reserve, unlike it was when I was first hired.
Job well done.
Job well done, yay!
So you've been described as having a get-it-done attitude and referred to as Dr. Fix-It. So can you tell us how this has impacted your career and what that all means?
Yes. Well, I think the College of Marin experience and the Skyline College experience helped to create that image, if you will, or profile of, oh, she's sort of kind of a Dr. Fix-It, come in and get it taken care of. And it didn't hurt me, because when I retired, I was offered, I had consulting firms calling me and asking me to come work for them.
Right.
Yes, to go into other colleges and institutions to help them with their master planning and fiscal planning and organizational planning and what have you.
And in fact, you've done that considerably.
Yes, I have. I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. It's good work because these institutions are important. These students are, some of them are really struggling to improve themselves and make a better quality of life for themselves. And we as educators need to support their efforts toward being successful.
So tell us about times or a time when you had to really pull on courage and take calculated risks.
Yes. I think there are a number of times, but the one that stands in mind is the most recent one, and that's College of Marin. There were real moments of internecine warfare at the institution because of the immense amount of change that needed to happen. Not everybody wanted to change. Takes a lot of courage to deal with that kind of adversity, especially when you're dealing with it on a weekly basis or monthly basis or yearly basis. And that experience was something that I had to really dig deep into my core of being in order to withstand and not fall apart. I'm not the fall apart type, but I really dug deep. And working with good people there. The board was so supportive. The academic senate was so supportive, and there were opportunities for me to find solace in the support that I was getting to make the change happen. And as it turns out, the change did happen, and the institution has certainly been the better for it and continue to do very well.
And so you talked about going back to that core, and that began in your family
It
life.
really did, didn't it?
And that business of never give up.
Yes, never give up. If you want to, if you believe you can do it, you find a way to get that done. And taking risk is part of what it's all about. I mean, sure, calculated risk, one or more, but being able to take risk and create something good from it is very, very rewarding.
So you've had mentors in your life.
Yes.
And you have mentored in your life. Can you share with us what you've learned about mentorship?
Yes, and it's, by the way, it's a two-way street, in my opinion. But I like that mentors are people who will listen and ask questions and guide or direct, offer ideas, be there for support, help you work through problems, help you work through important decisions. I don't think mentors necessarily will always need to give you an answer. In fact, not giving a direct answer may be helpful in some situations, but certainly helping you to think about, okay, what are the big pieces here? What are the little pieces here? And how do the big pieces and the little pieces all fit together? I think that's an important role for mentors.
So in your own mentoring, have you mentored board members, faculty, students, people in the community?
That's a wide range,
Isn't
too.
it?
Yeah, it is. It's good. I would say that it's been a very diverse group of people, predominantly faculty and administrators are the ones that I feel I've had the most impact in terms of career choices. Yeah, and I'm proud of them. The individuals that I've been able to help are doing very well. They've been able to achieve goals that they have set for themselves, and some of them are still on the path to accomplishing their goals.
And so the mentors in your life, I'm guessing you had some in music?
Actually, I did. I'm thinking of my choir instructor. who married Spike Lee's father. She left Houston, where I grew up, and went to Morehouse. And she was quite an accomplished musician, but I loved her. I didn't see her anymore. I know she married Spike Lee's father. But I have a lot of mentors in higher education and specifically community colleges who I love. And I love these people because they have been there when I needed somewhere to go to think things through.
Yeah.
And they're very confidential and very supportive. And they've been very helpful throughout my professional career, and specifically as a college president. And I'm very appreciative of them.
So, since your retirement, it doesn't look like a retirement to me.
True.
You have done a lot of these interim chancellorships and presidencies and so on and so forth. But I also know you've been very involved in the community.
Yes.
And you've been involved with Marin Symphony
Yes.
and Rotary.
Yes.
Would you talk a little bit about that?
That has been really a form of pleasure, respite and pleasure. When I was still working at the College of Marin, my husband and I had chosen, well, we may not be able to go to San Francisco all the time, but we'll go to the Marin Symphony because I have a background in classical music. And we just loved the symphony. Well, little did I know, who knew I'd get roped in. Well, it wasn't really a rope, but I'd get Invited. I like that. Thank you, Joan. Invited to serve on their board. And I was on their board for 5 years. And most of those years I served as their president of the board when the symphony was going through a lot of financial and leadership change. And it was a great experience. I have friends there, and Alistair Neal, the conductor, music conductor, is someone we love dearly, and I'm so proud of them and the fact that they have turned the corner and they are still providing beautiful music here in Marin County.
And so, what skills did you apply from your education